Hi everyone, welcome to this new episode of Comparative Geopolitics. Tonight I'm going to be talking about the example of Singapore. Singapore is an interesting country because of what the leader at independence in the person of Lee Kuan Yew achieved in his lifetime, moving the people of Singapore from third world to first world. Before I go into the main focus of my presentation tonight, I would first love to give a brief historical background in terms of how Singapore became an independent country. But before that, I'm going to be talking about two things that the Prime Minister of Singapore did at independence that I think the Nigerian government could learn from. First is how Singapore solved the problem of open grazing. The issue of open grazing, that's the first thing I'm going to be talking about. Then the second thing I'm going to be talking about, which I believe Nigeria could emulate Singapore for, is the issue of ensuring unity, national cohesion, and promoting economic growth and development devoid of communal mobilization or ethnic politics. And he did that in terms of ensuring that promotion in all official positions is strictly based on merit. But first, let me talk about the independence of Singapore. The independence of Singapore was a very dramatic event. Dramatic in the sense that, as at the time the government of Malaysia asked them to go, that they're tired of them. The people that come together to form Singapore today were not even ready for independence. But somehow, their leader, their first prime minister in the person of Lee Kuan Yew, had to pull them together. And they survived the initial storm. I think, I'm not sure of the exact date, but I can tell you that they got their independence in the early 1960s, 65, 64, 65, thereabout. Don't quote me on that. When Singapore became independent, something happened. The people that form what we know as Singapore today, the composition of the population, you have the Indians on one side, you have the Chinese, then you have the Malays, people from Malaysia. Some of them became part of Singapore. So the Indians have a particular habit of open grazing. And there was a fateful day. The Prime Minister was in his office. He was looking out through the window of his office near the town center, and he saw cattle on the field grazing openly. Shortly after that, I think a week or so, one accident happened that took the life of a lawyer. She was on her way to work. Then she hit one of the cattle. There was an accident and she died. What did the Prime Minister do when the news got to him? he called for a meeting with the agency in charge of public health in Singapore. They had a deliberation, and then when he came back from that meeting, he made an announcement based on the agreement he reached with the agency for public health. And the announcement was that open grazing constitutes a public health danger, and that he was going to give the herders a period, what he called a period of grace, for them to get their animals off the street. So what happened after that was equally eventful. Some of the herders did not listen to him. They thought he was joking. So when the period of grace elapsed, he sent task force, and they seize some of these animals from the street, slaughter them, and then they give the meat to social service, feed the less privileged people. The following week, all the animals disappeared from the street of Singapore. That was the end of open grazing. Why am I doing this video? I'm doing this video to send a message to those in Nigeria who think or believe that the problem of open grazing is insurmountable. I'm telling you right now that if the Nigerian government, the people ruling Nigeria, if truly they are interested in national cohesion, national unity, the problem of open grazing could be solved overnight. They don't want to do it. That is why we still have people in Nigeria today moving their cattle from one end of the country to another, claiming to be herders, while they wield automatic weapons, killing people, sacking villages, feeding farmers' crops to their animals, committing all forms of atrocities, even genocide. Yet, it took the government of Nigeria over, I think, about 10 years to call herdsmen terrorists, after they would have committed genocide on so many ethnic groups, ethnic minorities, especially in the northern part of the country. It took the government about 10 years to call these people terrorists. People that everyone, even outside the country, is conscious of what they are doing. That they were out to commit genocide. Their genocidal actions escaped government notice for so long. It was under intense pressure from the United States of America before the government decided to call these people terrorists. That is how serious we are as a country. I'm trying to be sarcastic here. Just a lawyer was killed as a result of an accident because of open grazing. The leader held a meeting with the Agency for Public Health in the country and declared open grazing a public health danger. That was the end of it. The herdsmen in Nigeria are committing genocide. Thousands of people have been killed. What is the Nigerian government doing? Nothing has been done. They are still in our bushes, in our forest, with automatic weapon AK-47, pretending to be herders. So, for those of you in Nigeria who think that open grazing is a problem that cannot be solved, I've got bad news for you. It is not a problem that is insurmountable. The solution is there, very simple. I'm just giving you an example. If you think it cannot be solved, go back and investigate the example I gave you about Singapore. One person died. The Prime Minister went into action. A meeting with the public health agency. Open grazing is a public health danger. End of the story. Take your animals off the street. Contrast that with Nigeria. What is happening in Nigeria? The magnitude of the killing. The obvious genocidal intent of these people who are doing the killing. What is the government doing about it? I don't even want to talk about the actions of the previous president, those who were there before, talking about cattle route, or cattle colony, how they want to establish colony on people's land, other people's land. How is such behavior sustainable in modern society? It's not sustainable. That is why we have so much insecurity, so much crisis in the country today. Then you talk about issue of peaceful coexistence, national unity, how the government of Singapore did it. At independence, the population of the Malays, those that came from Malaysia, the Chinese and the Indians, they did not trust the ethnic Malays because they believe their allegiance is still to Malaysia. There was this rivalry, a lot of hatred. They were attacking each other, one another. And the Prime Minister knew that if he was to achieve peaceful coexistence, achieve infrastructural development and ensure security in order to attract foreign investors, he needs a security architecture that is devoid of ethnic bigotry. So at the initial stage, they did not allow for fair representation of the Malay population in the security architecture of Singapore because of the high level of suspicion. They were afraid of sabotage. But over time, the Prime Minister started ensuring that before you get promotion into any office, you must merit it. So he emphasized meritocracy over communal mobilization or communal politics. So after ensuring stability, attracting foreign investors and developing Singapore, that was when they lost their guard, because over time, even the Malay population in Singapore, they forgot about their, ethnic background or heritage. All the people that come together to form Singapore, their allegiance is to the Singaporean flag. No one is talking about I am Chinese or I am Malays or I am Indian today in Singapore. Their loyalty is to their country because they had a Prime Minister who promoted merit, who did everything within his power to downplay ethnic sentiment. Contrast that with Nigeria. How our president, our leaders behave once they assume office. All of a sudden, the head of services will come from the ethnic group, the same ethnic group as the president. occasionally leaving some spaces for people from other tribe. That is how we behave. So that if someone becomes president in Nigeria, what happens is that all the people from other tribe that were ahead of his own people, he will have to sack all of them to create space for that member of his own ethnic group to assume that top position. It was only when that happened that he feels safe. Where is merit? When you talk about national cohesion, peaceful coexistence, peace is the offspring of the intercourse between justice and merit. If there is no merit, if there is no justice, you can't have peace. So some people in Nigeria today, they have that erroneous sense of entitlement, that because they come from a particular ethnic group, the position is for them. If others are to have those positions, then they must not like it. If you have to get it, then I must not like it. That is when you can get it. If I want it, you can't have it. I deserve it more because I'm from a particular tribe. So that is our problem in Nigeria. And when I talk about leadership, I don't talk about the president, the governor, the senators alone. You are the principal of a school, you are a leader in your own right. You are a family man, you are a family woman, you are a leader in your own right. Try to promote merit, justice, fairness. It is only in the atmosphere of peace that infrastructural development, economic growth can be achieved. I've read extensively about the history of Singapore and how that man, that Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew, was able to attract foreign investors. There was a particular story I read about this HP computer, Hewlett and Packard. They wanted to be making computers in other countries and sending to Singapore. The man said, no, I've got a place in Singapore. Tell me what you need. Is it electricity? Is it security? I can even build the structure. Just come in, produce inside Singapore. Don't bring from outside. When you produce within Singapore, you can sell outside. Today, in fact, the development of Singapore was so dramatic that even Singaporeans in other parts of the world started migrating back home. Because Singapore moved quickly from third world country to first world. They were enjoying the same standard of life as the Americans. So what is the point staying in America if you're a Singaporean? They moved back home. Contrast that with Nigeria, my country. If you ask any young man, he wants to run away. Because there are people in that country with this erroneous sense of entitlement. We want to rule over everybody. Whatever we want, we have got weapon, we are going to take it. You must come through or pass through us before you get that which you are looking for. How is that sustainable? Look at the situation in northern Nigeria in particular. The level of poverty. Foreigners only come there to extract natural resources and run away. No factory. We are not manufacturing anything. You are a young man from northern Nigeria, you want a job, you have to move to the southwest of the country or the south-south. Apart from the schools, some of the schools, and hospitals that you have staff working there, and then government institutions. You don't have anything in northern Nigeria. So we must have a rethink and try to learn from the example of Singapore. Merit over ethnic bigotry. We must resist the temptation to engage in ethnic and religious mobilization. That is backwardness in both developed and underdeveloped countries where people know what they are doing. Animals are in the shade. That is not modern practice. No one is moving with his cattle from one end of a country to another in a country where the leaders know what they are doing. This issue must be addressed for us to enjoy anything that looks like peace in Nigeria. So we must follow the example of Singapore. That is all I have tonight. Thank you very much for your time. Like this video, share with friends and family members. I urge you to also read and try to understand how problems are solved in other parts of the world. When you find yourself in leadership position tomorrow, who knows? Some of this information and knowledge might be useful. Sometimes the way our people behave, it seems to me they have no sense of history. So once again, thank you very much for your time, and I will see you in the next video. God bless you.